Coming in live here from Chase Center over in San Francisco, the land where Bruce Lee developed Yeet Kune Do way back in the day. We are here today with round 2 of WTL KungFu Cup. And with me today is, of course, Casting Clam, Kitori Prijodze I Wilkem Schlesiem, Kuro 16 Squad Sanseki. How we doing, Krupp?
What did you just call me?
Casting Clam, Kitori Prijodze I Wilkem Schlesiem.
Why am I doing something with wolf and herrings? I'm confused.
Wait, what? Is that what that means?
I don't know. I have no idea what you said.
I typed in the Casting Clam who comes in with the Grand Slam.
Oh. How did it translate slam?
Schlimim. I'm assuming anyway. Is what it came up with.
Sure. Hello there. Anyway.
Quite.
We are a bit, a bit late, as we have been doing some last-minute setups, but we're here. And hopefully nobody dropped.
Time is relative. I almost dropped for I was really worried that I dropped for a sec, but I didn't. But regardless, yes, we are going to be jumping straight on into our first game.
Yaku?
Our first... Whoop. Yes.
You're observing for now.
Okay, yes. Our first game of the evening. It is, of course, going to take place here on Neo Humanity. It is going to be a ZvP between RagnaroK and NightMare. And spawning in over here in the top left-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in this top left-hand corner, we have our red Zerg player coming down from the land of Korea. Representing Alpha X, you may know him here as Kibyom, but we know him as RagnaroK. And spawning over here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in this bottom right-hand corner, we of course have our blue Protoss player coming down from the land of Korea as well. Representing Abydos, we have NightMare. Now, to remember how to observe a little bit here, bear with us for a little sec. It's coming back to me. Middle mouse button is the one that moves the camera.
Did you not rebind it to anything?
No, I think years ago you told me I should.
Yeah, I did.
Because it's like good for not wearing your finger out. But my response was, well, I use that finger all the time anyway, so it's strengthened.
I'm not gonna question it.
As you shouldn't. Regardless, we are gonna be jumping right on in. And once again, for the KungFu Cup, we have a very stacked bracket today. Very spoilt for choice. We were very spoilt for choice quite a bit as to who what our first round pick was going to be, but in the end, we settled for a little bit of a PvZ here, partially because, they were the players who were still available at the time, but mostly because... But mostly because I think everybody is excited to see what RagnaroK can pull out, notably absent from this season of GSL, up against a contender here in NightMare.
I am nodding, as I am still doing socials, but I will be back soon.
Yes. We can sense the nods. It's agreement that I think is all around coming down. We do see RagnaroK and NightMare doing pretty normal things, which isn't quite what I was expecting from either of our players, if I'm being honest. Normally when I think of RagnaroK, I think of that player who has the biggest brain of all of the Zerg players. In Korea, at the very least. He loves to do a lot of unconventional, crazy things. And hang on, that's a lot of Lings that are on the way right now for RagnaroK. He's getting a third base, but I have doubts that is going to be that is going to be saturated anytime soon. Yes, words are coming to me. 14 more Lings are on the way, and I think we all know where this is going. NightMare has a little bit of wall back in his natural base, but no shield battery and only a single adept. Thankfully, his 2 scouting adepts were not too far behind. He's trying to throw down a pylon, but it's a little bit too late. RagnaroK is able to swim on through. Yep, that's where we're going with this. He's able to swim on through into the base of NightMare, and every single one of these probes is up for grabs.
Yeah, the adepts were surrounded.
Is about to go down, completely surrounded.
Yeah, so there's nothing left. I mean, the probes are still nice, so they will fight these Zerglings, but this is a lot of losses for NightMare. Although he still does have production, because most of it was in the main base.
Surprisingly, he does, yeah. Look at that. So he still has 3 gateways. He's getting a couple of stalkers out. Blink is about to finish up, and that's definitely going to help out when it comes to the micro, but considering he's fighting in his natural base, I don't think there's a lot of room to maneuver.
Yeah, also NightMare does lose that cybernetics core, so only Zealots coming from these gateways right now. He has to wait for the next one to finish. And in the meantime, RagnaroK is free to make some roaches.
Yeah, look at that. A Roach Warren about to finish out. I like this from RagnaroK. Not getting too bloodlusted, not thinking, I can end this purely with Lings. I would have been guilty of that if I was in his shoes, I'm not gonna lie.
I would 100% do that. I'm the person with a link problem. I will link rush you.
We have had meetings for this before.
Shh, they don't have to know about that. I mean, what?
Exclamation mark Discord in the chat if you too would like to join the Link Flutter support group.
I mean, it's look, the adrenaline when you see your Links like running into the base. It's just too good.
It's just nothing like it.
But we do see more Links though from RagnaroK, as they will be harassing that third base that the NightMare is trying to get, and they should be able to deny it.
Yeah, obviously it seems like a bit of a risky base here for NightMare to take, considering that it is out in the open like that. I guess he doesn't really want to waste time trying to mine out the golden minerals to get that safer base, but either way, I guess he is in a rock and a hard place. Between a rock and a hard place.
I mean, he has to catch up somehow, right? Because NightMare was very delayed with all these Links in his base, so at least he wants to take the third base, but it did not quite work out for him, so he has to focus on the army instead.
And focus on the army is exactly what he is doing. +1 weapons is on the way. Starting to get a couple of immortals as well to be able to weather the Roach Storm that's going to be coming his way.
Yeah, I mean, we currently mostly have a Stalker army. There is that Immortal coming, and we do have a Robo base, so I guess Disruptors will be coming. That would be my guess. That is, if NightMare knows that the Roaches are coming.
Yeah, just quickly checking the vision here. He didn't see the Roach Warren, and RagnaroK has been doing a really good job of just making NightMare think that it's nothing but Lings. Now, finally, the forces are going to clash, but it seems to be a little too late. 90 army supply from RagnaroK is collapsing on top of the 30 army supply army of NightMare.
Nice force feeds. They are walling off most of these Roaches, but there are Ravages in this army. The Immortal is focused and it goes down. It's just Stalkers fighting this entire Roach army, and GG is called.
GG. Very nicely done from RagnaroK here. Playing very aggressive. Playing very aggressively here right from the beginning. Maybe got a little bit fortunate with that adept catch early on, but every move after that to just secure his lead was very well thought out, IMO. And
sorry,
with that,
I'm trying to like gather my thoughts on everything at the same time.
Yeah, a lot was going on. You can't really blame me. I'm doing that thing where I'm hoping that by opening my mouth will come up with stuff that's hopefully related.
Hopefully related, yes.
My brain's kind of, somewhere in my head.
I mean,
I
I'm glad that
believe.
it's in your head. It would be concerning if it was somewhere else. It's like the Captain Jack Sparrow moment. Where like nobody move, I dropped my brain.
Exactly. Well, I don't think much more bad can happen to it, but we are going to be loading into game number 2. Very, very decisive here. Very, very eager is RagnaroK. After winning game number 1, he immediately invited us into the second lobby where we are going to be loading into altitude. Where over here in the top right-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in that top right-hand corner, we of course have our red Zerg player coming out from the land of Korea, representing Alpha X. He is going for an extractor trick, very, very cheeky, known right now as Hebium, but we know him as RagnaroK. And meanwhile, over here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, swatting all the way in this bottom left-hand corner, we have our blue Protoss player coming down from the land of Korea as well. Representing Abydos, we have NightMare. He is not Dream.
Okay, I am observing, and I'm starting to remember my hotkeys. Because, fun fact, for those who don't know, I have not observed for like solid 4 months, I think. So I actually do not remember where is everything.
Let's see if our viewers will be able to tell the difference between who is the between the observers.
Also, I need to disable.
I think it'll be pretty obvious.
No, like I do like. I lost the control of my hands.
Yeah.
It's not as good as it used to be.
Yeah.
But I'll get there. I'll get there.
Down to my level. Yeah.
In the meantime, we have RagnaroK going for his hutch first. It looks like.
Yeah. This time, actually able to get it in the natural base location, so not gonna be triggered into going for anything too aggressive early on. At least that's the hope here for NightMare.
Yeah, NightMare just going for his expansion. Nothing out of ordinary, I would say, for the time being.
For the time being, though. I gotta say, Kuro, I'm a little bit disappointed that so far, I know this is a best of 3, we've literally only seen 1 game, but so far, we've seen pretty standard stuff coming out from our players. Sure, RagnaroK is playing very aggressive in game number 1, but it wasn't big brain aggression, you know?
Well, now we're seeing something that was missing in the first game, which is a Stargate from NightMare coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, now you mention it, that was kind of missing from NightMare in game number 1. I kind of didn't even notice it with everything going on with RagnaroK, but a couple of oracles coming out for NightMare, that's gonna very much put an end to any of the problems he had in game number 1. Scouting information would be really key, but more importantly, defense against Lings early on.
Yep. And there will be some links coming. There is link speed, so I guess RagnaroK will be focusing on these links for the time being, but they are not being as aggressive as last time, as there's just a small scouting force around here.
Yeah, I guess it does make a little bit more sense. Neo-Humanity is a map that has the shortest rush distance in the current pool, and we're going the exact opposite direction here in game number 2 in altitude, which is not only has a very long rush distance, but it's also very, very wide. There's a lot of places to hide bases and whatnot.
Yeah, NightMare actually keeps this oracle at home, and the Zerglings are able to see it, so now RagnaroK has the time to prepare the spores at home.
Yeah, you can really tell that NightMare is a little bit spooked after game number 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like this is a defensive oracle. This is not for harassment. This is for killing all the Lings running into his base.
I see what you've been doing, RagnaroK. I know what you can do. I know how you can play. Meanwhile, RagnaroK says, okay, if that's the case, I'm just going to drone up my third.
Yeah, and that's what he does, is he has 3 bases set up, getting the drones there as well. There are no spores on the third base, but there are 3 queens, so they should be able to deal with an oracle, but there are 2, and the
Ooh.
adepts.
Yeah, those queens are going to be able to deal with the oracles, but what about the adepts? If NightMare splits us up at all, there is an insane chance. RagnaroK's going to take damage no matter what. He has to defend almost perfectly if he wants to limit or mitigate the amount of drones going down. And I gotta say, Kuro, this is pretty close to perfect.
Yeah, he catches the adepts and gets some good damage on the shields at the very least. They are only pretending to shade, they are only scouting, so they are not actually doing damage, and they are going home. It's just the oracles now.
Yeah, it's just the oracles, but there are 3 of them. This is more than enough to one-shot the drones. It was so important for RagnaroK to have had that overlord in position. He does not want to take any chances with his oracles. Immediately, he moves the queens.
Yeah, the oracles are only here for the beginning, as we do have Blink on the other side of the map, so there will be ground army coming after this. There are stalkers already being built up, and we'll see what they can do as NightMare does scout the 4th base.
Yeah, I'm liking this from NightMare. He recognizes just how greedy RagnaroK wants to play this time, and so instead, he's just focusing on trying to get a really, really strong Blink Stalker timing with his +1.
But will he have the time to do that, as RagnaroK does set up his Zergling attack here, but he sees the stalkers and he decides against it.
Well, yeah, he decides against it for now. Baneling Nest did finish up a little while ago. I'm looking at the 3rd base of NightMare, and I'm thinking there may be a couple of openings for Banelings to come in and just completely melt a mineral line.
Yeah, Banelings could do it. I mean, there is that shield battery, but with Banelings it may not even matter, so definitely can get some damage there. At the same time, NightMare is trying to take his own 4th, so he has to stretch his forces quite a lot.
Yeah, thankfully for NightMare though, RagnaroK isn't going for any multi-prongs for the time being. Just trying to see if he can get away with anything.
Ooh, nicely baiting that studies and going straight to the 4th once again, surrounding the stalkers.
Yeah, the shield batteries weren't finished up quite in time. I'm surprised that those Lings were able to get a full surround on stalkers despite the SimCity, but thankfully they were stalkers, they could blink away.
Yes, indeed, and this is a nice stats actually from NightMare, but the Zerglings keep going around, they just keep finding these small pieces of damage and making sure that NightMare stays on this side of the map.
Yeah, we're kind of at a point right now where RagnaroK has been playing so greedy. He's up to 80 drones and 7.5 minutes into this game that he can just send units across the map, and if he gets even a little bit of damage, sacrificing his Lings means nothing, pretty much.
Yaku, what did you say about Banelings?
Ah, the Banelings are being set up. Baneling speed is about to finish up. And I don't think NightMare has filled up that opening. Oh,
nice stasis. All of the Zerglings are there. But at the same time,
every single one. The Banelings are on the other side. Bane speed finishes up just in time to kick into gear, wipe out pretty much half of that mineral line, and take out quite a number of pylons. NightMare is almost supply blocked. He is forced to warp in a couple of High Templar right now. He doesn't have money for Storm. To research Storm, I mean, so he has to turn them into Archons, and RagnaroK, well aware of this, immediately starts Roach production.
I would say that that was kind of a funny moment where like the Zerglings were in stasis, but like the rest of the Zerglings kept circling around them, so when they just, you know, got out of it, they were just ready to attack.
Yeah, it's like, try surrounding me now. Well, I already kind of did. It's just that half of my surround isn't attacking you. You're still surrounded.
Yeah, it's like the stasis was nice for like, you know, delaying the attack, but like it was still in his base. Like there was still enough forces to be dangerous.
Those are always the best bases. Is from the point of view as somebody who's getting stasis, probably not necessarily from the POV of somebody throwing out stasis wards. Another pretty good stasis comes out here for NightMare, but RagnaroK decides to just wait it out and rotate around. This is exactly where a Zerg player wants to fight, right in the middle of the map where there's no Sim City, where there are no stack defenses, and where there's plenty of room to surround, but NightMare's army is still pretty scary. These poor Banelings. They just wanted to crash. They just wanted to crash and they got stasis. How dare you?
That was a nice shot to click into as the Zealots die immediately to all these Banelings.
Yeah. These chargelets, man, sometimes they just can't control themselves, and that's why you really got to keep them on a tight leash. It's interesting that NightMare decided to continue to make Zealots at this point, considering how Baneling heavy RagnaroK's
The War Piece did go down though, so that's really nice catch for RagnaroK there in the main base.
Yeah, and immediately after it goes down, he throws down that Spire, knowing that NightMare's not going to scout that. See a full-on assault in this 5th base location. The Nexus will be killed and not cancelled, and the rest of the army, the rest of the Protoss army is not far behind. There are a lot of reinforcements coming in here. These chargelets, thankfully, don't run into their death. Thankfully, there were Archons and Stalkers here to buffer for them, which is kind of funny to think about, having a buffer for your Zealots.
Yeah, NightMare did suffer quite a lot of losses, but his army is looking quite strong, so I guess we will see how the battle itself goes.
Yeah, he's starting to go for a counterattack. He was able to get a little bit of multi-prong setup over here as well towards the 4th base location of RagnaroK, and his main army is still standing strong. That cannot be overstated.
Yeah,
he's about to finish...
The Zealots were cleaned up on the other side though, and the Lynx are now going for a counter-attack. There is another base of NightMare here. He's expanding like crazy, but the Zerglings will be able to deny it.
Yeah, NightMare's almost like expanding like a Zerg player. Almost. Maybe the meta has shifted a little bit. Maybe Protoss players are experimenting with other more greedy styles nowadays, but usually I'm used to Protoss players who get 4, maybe 5 bases, turtle up, and then hope that they can go for a counterattack.
Yeah, we had a nice attempt of a surround here from RagnaroK as he's trying to catch this army, and he will destroy most of it. Once again, NightMare is trying to take this base, but with this ball of roaches, I don't think he can do it.
Yeah, maybe it's not the most efficient trade here for RagnaroK, but it's still enough to keep up the momentum. He forces a cancel and backs away as the reinforcements of NightMare arrive. I say that, but he's actually reinforcing this fight. He is sending out more Lings and more Banes as he works on a greater Spire back home.
Yeah, at the same time we had more unbuys at the 4th, I guess, base of NightMare, so once again 8 probes fall down, but NightMare is not stopping with the aggression.
Yeah, I don't think he really can at this point. I think he knows that his chances of getting a 5th or even a 6th base are slim to none. He needs to reciprocate this damage if he wants this game to go on.
Yeah, now the Protoss army does not look all that intimidating. Still, there are the Zealot runbys that are distracting the Zerg successfully, but at the same time, I think RagnaroK can take this.
Yeah, even with +3 here from NightMare, I just think the numbers are on RagnaroK's side at this point. The numbers in terms of supply, in terms of income, everything but upgrades, really, for RagnaroK, and even then, he's about to even that out.
Yeah, he's getting his +3 melee about to be done. And he's getting ready for another attack. Once again, the Lynx run... Even the creep from the Overlord.
That's always feels bad when you send your Overlord to prevent an expansion, but the expansion's already in the middle of being built.
I mean,
a huge assault coming down from RagnaroK now.
Yeah, the Archons are doing their best. Actually, they are taking down a lot of units. This will be cleaned up.
Yeah, I'm surprised how efficiently NightMare was able to trade here. I guess it really goes to show the power of having those static defenses that you can fall back to. And I want to avoid saying the power of shield batteries, but that definitely did come into play a little bit. It almost got sniped. This one shield battery that was overcharged almost got sniped. But because it wasn't, it was able to keep those Archons alive, and with it, NightMare's chances.
Yeah, and as you mentioned these shield batteries, you were saying how it feels bad when the Overlord doesn't deny the expansion. But at the same time, it does deny those shield batteries because you cannot build them on creep.
That is accurate, actually. These are things that, you know, you never really have to think about as a Terran player.
I mean,
I just move my tanks over there, and that's my static defense.
Sure, your
My
static defense is a unit. I don't know what does it say, what it does say for the Terran narration, but your static defense is a unit.
That's my static defense. Look, there used to be Mothership Core.
There used to be. And it's gone.
Feels bad. And speaking of feels bad, RagnaroK, I was wondering what he was doing with that Grave Spire, but now finally he's putting it to use. Brute Lords are on the way. A lot of them are coming down, as well as that's Infestor energy, isn't it? The upgrade.
Yep, this is
Pathogen
Infestors.
Glands, that's what it's called.
We're getting Infestors.
Brute Lord Infestor coming back to make a little bit of a comeback, and I think this is going to work fantastically against the unit composition that NightMare has. You throw down a couple of Microbial Shrouds. I do not know how I remember the name of that, but you throw in a couple of Microbial Shrouds, and these Brute Lords are not going to die.
I mean, I don't know if they will need them, because for the time being, this is a nice position from RagnaroK, but he has to be careful, because this is a Blink Stalker Archon army. This is literally all the anti-air you can get.
Pretty much, as a Protoss player. Maybe you can get a couple of Void Rays, but
yeah, but ground-wise.
You know, NightMare. Yeah, and also it looks like NightMare wants to prioritize Oracles out of his Stargate anyway. Has a lot of Oracles.
Yeah, and as he's distracting RagnaroK on with the Zealots, he's trying to poke a bit at this base, and he's cleaning up the entire mineral line.
Yes, literally 16 drones go down, and that base should be going down as well, as RagnaroK decides, I'm going to try to go for a counterattack, except this time, it doesn't really pay off. NightMare had not only stacked defenses, but he had a little bit of supply left over that he could warp in some Stalkers. He chases that attack away, and he's going for a counterattack.
There are 6 Oracles, by the way.
That...
Ooh, but they get caught in the fungal.
They do get caught in the fungal, but unfortunately for RagnaroK, he has no anti-air. He turned every single one of his Corruptors into Brute Lords. These Roaches are fighting back the Archon Stalker army over in this right-hand side.
They will get rid of most of the Archons, at least on this side, so that is nice, but basically our players are fighting on both fronts. We have a small army to the west, we have a small army to the east, and it looks like RagnaroK is losing the battle.
Yeah, it looks like he's losing both battles, actually, as, okay, he'll finally be able to clear up the eastern front, but over in the northwest, that Patry went down.
Yeah, important part, though, is we have Tempest coming out, so this will be it for the Broodlords, it looks like.
Pretty much. RagnaroK's getting a couple of Vipers out now, but he doesn't really have any anti-air, aside from Queens and Parabombs. And Tempests don't really care about Parabombs anyway.
Do they? I actually don't know. I don't think I've seen an interaction of Tempest with a Parabomb.
Yeah, I think most of the time it is just a little bit of a waste of energy. Tempests just have that much health, and they don't stack up as much as, say, Mutalisks or Phoenixes.
Yeah, I only know that for a carrier it's completely useless, but I don't know about Tempest. Also, we have Storm on the way. Why not?
Yeah, NightMare finally realized he hasn't researched it, and I was like, oh, that's why my High Templar weren't doing anything. But now they will. Now they will, and it's really important to have a couple of High Templar, not just for the Storms, but also for feedbacks on top of these Infestors and Vipers later down the line.
But
and even the
RagnaroK
Queens,
decides...
if the Queens are going to transfuse.
RagnaroK decides on the offensive, and it looks like we slowly grow with this creep, at the same time a big Ling ran by on the other side of the map.
RagnaroK has decided, alright, I'm choosing violence. You thought that was violent? Earlier on, when I was sending all my Lings and my Banelings at you, you don't know nothing yet.
He's leapfrogging his Broodlords on the creep. Together with the spores.
Yep. This, I was sure, but not in 2020, 2019, don't quite remember
I'm not sure.
which year it was where we saw the infinite Spore Force, but yeah, strap yourselves in, folks. We're 20 minutes into this game, and I guess we'll be here for another 20.
See, the thing is, if it feels like both players have been damaged, like RagnaroK has lost these bases at the top, like NightMare has lost a lot of bases, he lost a lot of army as well, but yet both of them are still alive.
Both of them are still alive, with a bank, practically maxed out, with income. That's the beauty of altitude. You can get so much money, you can bleed out so many minerals and gases. But as long as you're mining from at least one base, you're fine.
Yeah, and we see these small skirmishes on the... It looks like the west side is like the place for the small battles, the Lingran buys and so on. Meanwhile, the right side of the map is just... Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. I like how orderly our players are.
I know, right?
They've all designated the areas of... Okay, we'll try... We'll schedule the skirmish over on the east side at 3 p.m. Meanwhile, we have construction over on the west side, so, try not to interfere with that.
Yeah, the problem is that most of the army of RagnaroK is on the right side, so this small force of Protoss is able to do any damage they want for the time being.
I can see it so clearly, Kuro. I can see those stalkers going into the main base and killing every single bit of tech as RagnaroK decides to just shift his tech into the southwest. But now we're seeing a full-on assault happen. RagnaroK inching ever so closer into the base of NightMare. His spores aren't quite there yet, though. His creep isn't quite there yet, but there isn't a lot that can really stop these Broodlords at the moment. The stalkers, as you mentioned, were in the top side of the map.
Yeah, the stalkers are busy with attacking RagnaroK right now, and as you mentioned, the Corruptors, now we have some, and now these Corruptors can zone out these Protoss units. There's not a lot of them, so eventually they will be overpowered, but it's enough to take this base.
Yeah, RagnaroK's gonna have to really be relying on his yoinks from his Vipers, and I guess you don't really want to waste your parabombs, but you might want to throw out a parabomb just in case. Again, RagnaroK isn't working with a lot of anti-air. He's got a Spore Force, but his Spore Force is kind of split in two, funnily enough.
And with a lot of carriers coming out now from NightMare, he's able to clean a lot of this Spore Forest as well. By the way, my favorite thing in this battle was seeing an Infestor fight a High Templar.
Yep.
There was nothing else happening, both armies were on their sides, it was just an Infestor throwing a Fungal and High Templar responding with a feedback.
They just stared at each other, yeah. It's like those dogs who bark at each other through gates, but when the gate opens, they just leave immediately. Huge fungal!
I think it was a duel.
On top of the carrier. It was a little bit of a duel, but another huge fungal lands on top of the Protoss army as well. We were saying that parabombs don't do a lot against these high-tech Skytoss units. Well, if you can chain enough of them, then it starts to really make a difference. A lot of that army is down into the red and the yellow.
Yeah, that was a really nice chain fungal from RagnaroK, and he's able to take down a lot of health of these air units. The Queens are in a bit of stasis, so they're out of commission for the time being, but the Broodlords have free range on this base.
Yeah. Like, the stasis just gives the Queens time to restore that energy, you know? It's kind of like a vacation for them.
I don't think they restore energy.
They might not, but we're seeing NightMare trying to reciprocate. He recognizes that the entirety of RagnaroK's army is down south. I love this from RagnaroK. A couple of Ultralists are now in production to be able to deal with the High Templar, which is really the only thing holding back the spellcasters of RagnaroK, the Vipers and the Infestors.
Yeah, but what's gonna do with the rest of this air army? Because the entire air army of RagnaroK is down south, and it's just setting up another base. Meanwhile, the Golden Armada
is doing Golden Armada things here. There's nothing to contest it. These Oracles are just having fun throwing down stasis wards. A couple of defensive DTs now rock up to deal with these Ultralists. A little bit of a wasted investment there for RagnaroK.
Yeah, definitely. Like the Ultras weren't really able to do anything, and as we said, like NightMare is just demolishing the bases of RagnaroK, and he has to just move his entire tech like down to the other bases.
I'm loving this from RagnaroK. What if we take my tech and move it somewhere else? Is literally his entire thought process with this, and he is only taking the essentials with him. He isn't remaking his Ultra Cavern or Roach Warren or anything like that. He is just getting the Spire, but this costs a lot of money. RagnaroK has just spent his entire bank.
Yeah, he's also losing the Greater Spire together with a denied upgrade. So I guess we're having a bit of a base trade. We have Broodlords versus the Golden Armada. There are still a few buildings of the Protoss left around. And I think it may be just a proper base race.
Yeah, I'm not really sure who has the advantage in this situation, because of course NightMare always has recall available to him. But if he's not careful, he's going to recall on top of a whole bunch of Infestors and Corruptors and Vipers.
Yeah, I'm
just
not
one
sure.
cell putting in the work.
I'm not sure who's gonna take it. Like, the thing is, I feel like if NightMare actually faces this army, he may take it, but it all depends on these Infestors and Vipers. And we see once again some attempts here.
Yeah, the Vipers do get feedback pretty much immediately, and the Storms zone away the rest of that Corruptor army. RagnaroK, he's gonna have to spend time sucking up energy, sucking up some youth juice on these Vipers before he can really take the fight to RagnaroK. And in the meantime, whatever I said the other way around, before he can take the fight to NightMare, meanwhile, he's just trying to get whatever he can get done. He's taking out a couple of units, but now NightMare has spotted the gold base of RagnaroK.
Yeah, and that Storm on the drones as well. This base is very vulnerable to attacks like this, and I guess we have to consolidate the forces and see how the fight goes.
I could hear the flashbacks going through your mind, Kuro, when the Storm landed on those drones, but now the forces are starting to consolidate a little bit. RagnaroK trying to get his forces together. Pretty good fungal. On top of the Tempest, he gets them once again. He should be able to take out at least these units. But what about the Void Race in the back? What about the Stalkers that have now been warped in? Another huge fungal and another pretty good pair bombs, all things considered. But it looks like NightMare is chasing this back.
Yeah, RagnaroK is just throwing everything into the fight, but he lost a lot of Broodlords because of that. He just kind of attack commanded them in. They did fight the Stalkers, but a lot of this air army is still there and they cannot contest that.
21 Corruptors are on the way. This is very risky from RagnaroK trying to go for these low health units. The Void Race are just annihilating the Corruptors as they trickle in one by one. RagnaroK might have had a chance here if he waited a little while, if he got all of his Corruptors ready, but he is bleeding out so much to the Void Race. He could still do it though. Void Race is starting to go down.
Yeah,
these units for NightMare are so much more expensive than Corruptors.
Yeah, he got just enough reinforcement to deal with the Void Race, and now the entire air army is gone. Where is the ground army? Where are the units?
Oh. GG. Well played here from RagnaroK, taking that series 2-0.
Gee,
Wow.
nice
That looked like it could be anyone's game for a second.
It was! Like, the entire game was actually pretty close, but it ended up in RagnaroK's favor.
Nicely done, yeah. And with that, we do have an opponent now waiting for RagnaroK. Somebody I'm not too familiar with by the name of Stardash.
You mean
so our players
Dash?
Whoop. Wait, that's Dash?
I think so.